Welcome to Conversation with Buddy. I'm your host, Buddy Puckett. And every week I say it for the month of January that it's a new year, 2025. I'm excited. I hope you are as well. Today I have a pretty cool guest. He'll be a new friend of mine, introduced by an old friend of mine. So I'm going to introduce him here in just a moment. But we're going to talk about business today. We're going to talk about real estate, new home construction. I'm in the real estate world as well. I'm a mortgage guy. Not that you need to know that, but my guest, he's been doing this for, I think, probably 20 years. I'm probably guessing a little bit here, but I think I'm pretty accurate. And let me introduce this guy. His name is David. And David, pronounce your last name for me.
Korniyenko. David Korniyenko.
Korniyenko.
Yeah, there you go.
I meant to ask you that, and I didn't do it. So
I just say it's like the whole alphabet. It's all good.
Oh, brother. Well, hey, you came down from Vancouver.
Vancouver, Washington. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for driving down this morning.
Thank you.
It's a Friday morning. It's raining.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Oregon or Washington.
Washington. Yep. Evergreen. There you go. Right.
So, yeah. Okay. So Nick Ketchum referred you. You and I had a conversation a couple months ago. We decided today was the day. How do you know Nick?
So Nick, I met at another kind of a conference we had in our Vancouver. There's a Christian outreach, and basically we did the same thing on stage. His name's Glenn Johnson. He used to be a pastor. Now he's also in business and a home builder. So that's part of our Powered by Ground training is we meet with builders, developers, investors. So he's a builder, and we cross paths because I'm in new home division. So I was doing a speech, and Nick was part of the audience, and he came up and we connected. So it was a phenomenal connection with Nick. Yeah, Nick's a really good guy.
Nick is an awesome guy. I got to know Nick probably 4 or 5 years ago, and now I love Nick. He's came a million miles, and
yeah, he's slowly building his business, and I really love just that atmosphere, that drive. Just jumping into it and establishing the journey, learning to communicate with people. Just figuring out yourself. I would say. Yeah.
How were you and I started, man? I mean, go back to our 20s, and I mean, you said you're 38?
I'm 38, yes.
Yeah, so I'm a couple years beyond you. But there's a lot of learning that goes on between you from 28 to 38. And so I think Nick's probably mid to later 20s. But
yes.
Well, hey, let me introduce you first. I want to just kind of tell the story about who you are, and then we'll dive in. We're going to talk business. We're going to talk 80-20. Entrepreneurship.
Yes.
That's a big word.
There you go.
All right, so you're married.
You've
been married since
2008.
Okay. It's about 16 years.
16 plus, yeah.
Okay. You have 4 kids.
4 kids.
Tell me how old they are real quick.
So Jonathan's 13, then 10, Evnika, then Esther is 10. So 13 to 10, 8, and then I got a 2, Tabitha. Tabitha, yeah.
Wow, man.
2. I know.
You're covered, man.
I know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
The full spectrum.
Yeah. A little bit about you. You're a believer in Jesus.
Believer in Jesus.
When did you become a believer?
So I grew up in a Christian family, but my personal conversion was around age 17. So I kind of sat down and I said, either the Bible's real or it's just all a host. And that's where I would say soul searching happened, where I said, I got to figure out, if this is the truth or not. And once I established that was the truth, then it's set in stone. That's it. Done deal.
And I think every kid has to go through that work.
Absolutely.
Mom and dad make you go to church or whatever. And that's fine. You kind of like, I get that. But then there's a point in time in life where you have to have your own conversion.
You have to have your own conviction.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. You have to. Okay. Otherwise, you're trying to establish yourself with other people's conviction. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Gotta have your own. It's your relationship with God through Jesus.
Yes.
So, okay. So you're an entrepreneur at heart. You started making money at 8 years old. And we're going to come back to this. I want you to unpack all this, get to know who you are. Second generation in construction and home building. Your dad owned a framing company. At 18, straight from high school, you started your real estate career.
Correct.
So 20 years. That was my number was right.
There you go.
Interviewed brokers from day one. Podcast at Remax office. What does that mean?
So I did podcast before podcast was available. So when I became a broker, I had no idea what I was doing. So what I did is every day, anybody that showed up in the office, I would just pull them in and do what you and I are doing.
I love it.
I just asked them questions. I even know my first, I would say, a handful of the first brokers that I just sat down and they just poured into me. I mean, maybe I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing this, right? And it helped. It pushed and propelled me. Remember, I had a guy, he was probably like 70 plus, and I was just 18. And then you can go to your questions. And he's like, you know what? Like, what you're doing is right. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm 18. I just got my life. He's like, if I were to start over in real estate, I would have just started straight up at 18. I was like, okay, check box. I guess I did something right. So like, you just collect this facts that people reflect upon you, which was really unique. So just.
No, I love that. That's good. It says here, because you sent this to me, so you interviewed brokers from day one, like a podcast at RE/MAX office. DB spoke. Who's DB?
A designated broker.
Designated broker.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Spoke life into me, saying I will be good in real estate.
Yeah.
Why? And I hopped on your Facebook just to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're 20 years into it. What I noticed about you is you want to educate, but you also want to keep learning. Like you want to keep growing. So I think that shows a level of humility. That's my perception.
Thank you.
I'm gonna find out though today. So hang on, brother. You consider real estate a contact sport, and you get better the more you try it. Fail, test your theories, and build stronger. We are a people business, and there's something to learn from every transaction and every person you meet. And I would totally agree with that. I've been doing mortgages for 26 years. And I would say every loan and every situation is different. Like I'm 26 years in and I go, yep, that's new. Haven't seen that one before.
Exactly.
So makes me laugh every time. Make your job a lifestyle. People can tell the difference. Currently, you're a founder of Powered by Ground, training and consultant, own a construction company, oversee the Keller Williams new home division.
Correct.
So how long have you been at Keller Williams?
So 3 years, going my third year.
Okay. So go back here. It says founder of Powered by Ground. What is Powered by Ground? What does that mean?
So Powered by Ground is our coaching and consulting. So the way we wanted to express education to brokers is through a coaching and consulting company. So we established Powered by Ground. And why that came to a resignation is because everything starts with location in real estate. It's the ground. The ground is really where everything starts. It's not the building. It's literally location. So Powered by Ground is talking about how location is the ultimate key success to real estate. Whether you're investing real estate, whether you live, where you go to vacations, whatever, it's always about the ground.
Yeah. Amen to that, man. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
You're taking it back down to the grassroots of starting a business.
Correct.
From the very beginning. That's good. And I think, I think sometimes we lose our way. You've been doing this for a long time. You can take for granted what you know, but by Powered by Ground, it takes you back to
the fundamentals.
Yes, and I think we forget that.
Yes.
I mean, that may be where ego and pride come in. I'm a guy. I mean, you're a guy.
Yeah, same story.
I mean, have you ever struggled with pride or ego, or is that just me?
When you make too much money, your ego goes up, and then God has a way to take it back.
I've experienced that before. I don't. God gives and He takes.
Correct.
That's the truth, and I love that God does that. That He loves us enough to humble us at times. Like, yeah, I'll bless you, but I'm also going to discipline you, and it's not like God wants to be mean. He gives us sometimes what we need or what we can handle. And so, well, take us back to the very beginning. Where were you born and raised? I know you live in Vancouver currently.
So born and raised in Russia.
Okay.
Came here as an immigrant when I was 4 years old in 91. We moved to Colorado Springs. My dad didn't like the hot and the cold. Yeah. So we had pretty close friends that lived in Vancouver, Washington. We did a road trip. Went from Colorado to Washington, down to Oregon, to California, and Vancouver was the new home for us. So since 91 to 93, in 93 we moved to Vancouver. I was basically 5, 6. And since then I grew up in Southwest Washington. So I saw Clark County when we didn't have roads and streets and even Walmart, And the lady who lived on our street, she actually lived in Clark County since 1906. So she gave me the whole backstory when she still drove horses to on the mill plain that, now there's 2 lanes going both ways. So like, Southwest Washington really became home, like, and just everybody you meet and community and all of this. And since basically living there, delivering newspapers, all of this, and then seeing how the town has, elevated to where it's at in 20 years. I mean, new homes is definitely a huge proponent, compliment to all of that.
Yeah. Okay, growing up, I want to know, how did your mom and dad impact you? Because I know you have a work ethic. I can see it. Right? You're in real estate, you're in commission, you're building, you're self-motivated. You started a business at 8 years old.
Yeah.
How did mom and dad impact you? How many siblings do you have? And then what was that business at 8 years old that you started?
So there's 5 of us total. I'm the 3rd child.
You're right.
I'm smack in the center.
You're middle, man.
Yeah.
You're that guy. I know
that guy.
I know that guy.
So I got an older brother, older sister, then it's me, and then I got a younger brother and younger sister. So I'm very balanced, man. Very balanced.
Totally balanced. And I see that, really. I mean, honestly.
They both pulled on me, the older and the younger. Exactly. So started with that. My dad was always kind of a business entrepreneur his whole life. Yeah. So he was in corporate, and then he kind of did self-employment. Yeah. So that was kind of always ingrained in that. And work ethics, I think, was just kind of built into us. I think you don't get anything in life unless you work hard at it, period. So that was always a concept that was taught, and a principle that was taught in our home. So at 8 years old, I wanted to work, but my brother and my sister already had a newspaper route. So what I did was you couldn't have a newspaper route until you were 10. But I got 2 newspaper routes under my sister, and then I just delivered her newspaper and got paid for it. So
how cool is that?
I know. So there's always has to be a trick to the game. Yeah, So I did that, and then I mowed the lawn for the same people and delivered newspapers. So you double dip on your client.
Come on, man. What was means you're a real estate agent and a homeowner.
And then you get tips, right? So then you get your Christmas tips. So the biggest tip I ever got was $100.
Where?
Yeah.
And you're talking like 30 years ago.
I know. I'm telling you, it was a pretty good run until, so I did that about probably, I think, 11, 12 years old. And then kind of had a small break. And at 14, I started just part-time helping my dad around the construction, clean up, all of this, just small handy stuff. So yeah, it was really cool to start young and just to, I guess, see money and how to make money and just the interaction between people. I mean, being a newspaper guy, rain, snow, ice, we're always out there, right? Yeah. So, that job's gone now, but just in essence, it was a phenomenal journey to get that experience.
Well, the fact that you brought it up as, hey, my first business was 8 years old, now you're 38.
Yeah.
I think that shows the impact it had in your life. And did your mom and dad kind of have you buy your own stuff, like learn to buy your own clothes, or do they?
I guess at that age when money doesn't become a problem, you can buy stuff, you can give stuff. I gave a lot of money back to our family. Yeah. I always had stuff I wanted. But that's, I guess, the opportunity opens up. Yeah. So other people are racing to have it, and you could just have it because you work for it. So there is a trade-off always for the hard work. So
right. Was there, for you, you said you give back to your family. Yeah. Was that part of your purpose? Part of your drive is and we know that God says it's better to give than receive.
Correct.
Biblically.
Correct.
Was that playing a part of your life back then?
I don't think it was like a law thing. It was just help the family or whatever, right? Yeah. And again, we were kind of in immigration, so we didn't have much, but so it definitely helped the family as a whole. But one of the things I teach my kids right now, the Institute of Family is where everybody contributes. So when we go shopping,
there's no free rides.
Yeah. So when we go shopping with the kids, it's not what you want; it's what the family needs. So let's focus on that first. So we're going shopping as a family to buy stuff for the family. We're not going shopping because you want something. But when you want something, we'll go shopping for you. So this whole family concept orientation, I think, is really, it's a really strong concept.
Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah. You have a strong family, I can tell.
I mean, yeah, I try to cultivate even our family. Like,
how's your relationship with your mom and dad today? You're 38, but what's that look like?
I mean, they're definitely a lot older, so they're going through their phases. I'm going through my phases of life, right? So I think the collaboration of going through the phases, that's the hardest thing. Other than that, life is life, you know? I mean, yeah, we help each other and we need it, and, you know, just help grind through life.
I like that. Life is life. I'm writing some quotes down.
I mean, sometimes it's just people try and make something out of life, which is not, you know? So, like, if my parents struggle with health, then you're just like, okay, you know, we got to address that. If they struggle with something, like, and you just kind of, you have to take that as a reality, you know, and that's it. Yeah. But if you try to, like, make it beyond what it is, I mean, I guess you just complicate it.
You do, yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if you have a health problem, let's address it.
Exactly.
Figure it out. We're not emotional about it. It just is. We're getting older.
I know.
And by the way, we're going to die one day.
And your body will break down. So
body's breaking down. So yeah, I've addressed that, and I'm good with that. I've embraced it completely. I know where I'm going.
I'm already embracing it slowly.
Yeah. And I've got you by a couple days, man. But well, talk to me about like just kind of growing up with you know 4 other siblings because you're in the middle of 5. Yeah. What was that like? High school. Sports, stuff like that. What was that like?
So the sibling thing is trying to always, I guess, be in fair communication with all the kids. Yeah. But you always have some tensions all the time. I guess growing up, one of the things that I look back is I did couple, especially my younger sister, like I came back and I asked her for forgiveness for things I did when we were younger. And so, I mean, you got these growing pains, I guess, of understanding how to interact with people, your own siblings, and all of this. But I think that's the hardest lessons to learn in life, right? Yeah. To communicate to where you're not butting heads until you die, right? So, so that's, I guess, on the sibling side. I'd say middle school, high school, education was, I really liked it, but I never liked structured education. I hated structured education. I mean, my buddy is a CPA, and I go, you know, we both can be successful in life. You can go down the structured education, get your certificates. I can go create my own certificates, you know, and that's it. I'm with you, man. So we always laugh about it. But I think education as a whole is necessary. You have to spend the money, the time, and the energy for it. But it doesn't have to be where, you know, you got to go get a test every single week to identify if you figured it out or not. And I keep telling my wife, if I haven't figured it out now, it doesn't mean I won't figure it out. It'll maybe come in a later time, you know, just put it back on your shelf and then revisit it. So, but mid through high school, I worked out a lot. I loved the gym. I liked the drive. I liked the challenges. So that was always fun, is just working out. Never liked sports, but never like back to structured sports. So never wanted to be on the team all of this stag. I just like freestyle. So I like freestyle basketball, volleyball, just a lot of activities where, you know, you hang out with the guys after school or whatever. So yeah, I was very ingrained, and about halfway through high school, I already knew that I already made a decision whether I'm going to go to college, university or not. In middle of high school, I said, probably not. I'm just going to go business, and that's it. Is there any regrets not going to college, doing what you do today? I mean, the offering of education and networking probably would have helped, I think. But other than that, I mean, I think both of them are just journeys in life, period. Yeah. And, okay, so you get through high school. I want to know how you met your wife. Oh, I got married at 22. Okay. So you got in real estate at 18. 18. Bought my, didn't know what I was doing. My first year and a half was very struggling, meaning like transaction wise, just learning the whole game, learning the ins and outs. I even remember my first client, my first transaction. Like that was just the emotional drain of getting it through. And then 3 years later, we have the recession, right? So I'm 3 years into my career and just everything just gets pulled. And I remember I run to this guy, he's been in the business for like 40 years. And I go, what do you do? He's like, go to the banks. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, they'll have all the inventory. Everything's going to go back to the banks. So I was like, okay, you know, so I register that. And then But that's where I did a lot of distressed properties for bank repos and all of that. But at 22, I don't know. It was just a time in life. I was like, you know what? I think it's time to, like, I kind of started my business. Now I kind of got to start my family.
Yeah.
So through church events and church networking, my wife comes from East Washington, Wenatchee. So they came down with their church. We had a church events that took place, and we crossed paths, and we kind of started building a relationship. And in 5 months I got married.
It's funny how God orchestrates all this. I mean, he already knew it in advance how that was going to play out.
Yeah.
And now you've been married for
16 plus years.
16 plus years, yes. 4 kids.
4 kids.
That's
running
cool.
Business.
What a blessing.
Yes.
Did your wife work at all?
No.
Well,
she started.
She's a full time taking care of kids.
She's a full time plus overtime.
Yeah, and taking care of you. Man, are you kidding
absolutely. I'm high
She's got 5 kids. You're the 5th kid.
There you go.
Let's be honest. Yeah, that's funny. Let's talk business, because I really want to.
Sure.
I want you to unpack your real estate career, your building homes, kind of the whole package. How does the 80-20 fit into that? Because I know you teach the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
And I love that rule, by the way. So when I saw you teaching on that, I'm like, okay, we have something to talk about. So talk to me about that.
So I think in entrepreneurship as a whole, right, the whole process or the journey, we build on everything in business, build us up on each other. It's not like one thing is just one thing. So when I started in business, I was like, oh, I have to learn this. Then I have to learn this. Then I have to learn this. Then I have to learn management. Then I have to learn time management. Then I have to learn accounting and finance and corporate structures and all of this. So eventually, it never stops. You just grow as you go. And I always say, just meet the need. Find out what the current need of your business is and build into it. And then find the next need and slowly build into that. And then find the next need. And the more you build into that need, the more basically you grow. And then you facilitate more business, you facilitate more clients. And people see that you have grown into that space, and you know what that space is all about. The 80-20 rule is really about learning how to laser focus and understanding where's your highest return on your time, because time is essence. That's it. You're trading everything for time. So one of the things even my DB now says is owner operator is like, man, you cherish your time a lot. I was like, yeah, because over the years, I've trained to take the time that I have and squeeze it to a laser focus. Because if I do 5 things, then it's a domino effect. If I do 6 things, then it's a domino. So once you see these domino effects enough, you understand if I do these 4 or 5 things, everything else kind of makes its way. But if you don't do these, then you got nothing to come out. So that's really comes down to a lot of time management skills.
Yeah, that's good. How long do you think you've been working on that whole 80-20 thing? When did you finally learn that concept and implement that in your business?
In 2014, I had to sit down with one of my business mentors, and I sat with him, and for 8 hours he coached me. We were in a meeting with him and his son, for 8 hours straight. And the biggest thing he said is time. He just, he drilled it into me. And I kept coming back for a whole year, and I was like, what is he talking about? But what happens is if you're a dreamer and a visionary, you can control how much things can happen in a certain time frame by doing a lot of prep work. And that's what he talked about. If you do enough prep work, physically, emotionally, spiritually, things will come together, so you don't have to spend so much energy trying to put them together. I know, it's amazing. So I learned a lot from him from that one day, and then from there I kind of started to build it up. And I even look at my notebook like I do Evernote. Every day I put tasks in. I go back basically into that season of my life, and from there going forward, it's just been stacked.
Yeah. Got to do the prep work for sure. Yeah, a lot of people focus on, I've been coached on, but I like to, lead measure versus lag measure. Lag measures, I want to make X amount. I want to build X amount of homes. But the lead measures, do the prep work. Do the work that it takes to get to where you're at. If you focus on the work, the thing happens.
Yes.
If you focus on the thing, the work never happens.
Never happens.
And so I think That's really kind of what you're saying is do the prep work, do the practicing. It's kind of like a professional football player. I heard this story, if you know who Joe Montana is, he's a 49er quarterback for years. He would say, I would practice for 40 hours to go play the 1 hour in the game on Sunday. And so I think that's the prep work. I think that's what you're saying. But a lot of us, we want to go play the game for 40 hours, but never practice our craft. And it will never work.
Yeah, because it goes to the last point that I said. People start to sense when you're in real time, if you really know what you're talking about or not. They really sense that. Like, have you turned it into a lifestyle, right? Yeah. Or is it just like a filler? And you know that you go to a doctor or dentist, you could tell, like, is this guy just doing his job?
Yeah.
Or he really...
Does he really...
Yeah, or he really, he sleeps on it and then he woke up. I mean, has he done prep work when he met his client like myself? I mean, like, you could tell really quick. Or it's just like whatever happens and that's it.
Well, I think if you've gone through 2008, because you were talking about 2008, I did. I've been through a lot of different ebbs and flows in 26 years. It's the people that have gone through that. You're not just in it for the money. You're in it for the long term, and you're in it for different reasons than just money. Because if it was just about the money, you probably would have quit in 2008, 9, or 10. Pick a year, and the fact that you're still doing it. So I have a lot of respect for people who gone through the hard times, and yet they're still here doing their thing. So, okay, so you become a real estate agent. How many, over the last 20 years, how much of your business is real estate? How much of it is building homes? Because I know you own a construction company as well. So break us down what that looks like, and so people can see the full model of how you operate.
So, I mean, everything complements each other. In our training, we talk about the investors, the developers, the builders, and then the brokers. So it's like the 4 pillars of new home sales. All of those are the involved parties in the transaction. So the investor, whether it be a private party or a bank that's involved in the transaction, the developer is somebody who's bringing in all the utilities, the civils, figuring out traffic, all of that. Then the builders who builds the structure, right? What you see out of the ground. And then the broker who manages the sale, who's the end buyer for the whole line. So you have to wear all the hats to really understand if you want to deliver product to the market. So I've done delivering product to the market through our brokerage for myself and then for many other builders, developers, and investors in the market. So that has always been a business flow that we have participated in. Real estate's like you, and mortgage, it's transaction. So wherever I can make the transaction happen, I'll be involved to facilitate it, whether it's an investor transaction, developer, builder, or eventually just selling the last stage of a house. So at a given time, on average, say for the last 10 years, I would oversee between 40 to 80 kind of builds a year.
Wow.
On the transaction side, on the building side, the developments, sometimes it's a bigger pipeline and less. And then on the broker side, now I facilitate my own deals and I've helped facilitate a lot of broker deals. So year over year, we've probably doubled or tripled that. So I'm helping a lot of, through the Powered by Ground, we're helping, facilitate so many more transactions for other brokers. So that's kind of how the new home division's laid out.
Yeah, you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, so the investors all like capital groups, like if guys have 5 million to push, 10 million, whatever project size they associate themselves with. The developers is kind of the same thing. And then the builders and then, the brokers. But you see the whole thread of the line. So I see projects 2 years in front of me, and I know projects that are 2 years behind us. So you
got a big gap,
you have to see probably a 5-year run. So it's not like a 30-day transaction.
Well, I think to your point though, I actually like that because as a typical mortgage person or a real estate agent, broker, sometimes we look at, this month I have X amount of deals, and next month I've got this. You're going, no. I got a 5-year runway, and I think it's fantastic because you're not banking on what happens this month or next month. You're like, I've got 100 deals here and I got 100 deals there, and over the next 5 years, we're going to do hundreds of deals.
Correct.
And so I think that what that does, though, it also removes the emotion because most people on commission sales, highly emotional.
Yes, very.
They do great one month, they stop marketing, and they go back, whatever it is.
And when it goes down, they think it's over.
Oh my gosh, it's over.
I'm not, no.
And I bet you don't have that same emotional
I just keep them like, it's not over. It's not going anywhere. It's just like, if it goes down, it goes back up, like, and there's seasons to the market. And you have to start, just accepting that it's a tide wave, and you just make your adjustments as long as the market does what it does, and you do what you need to do along with the market.
Yeah. So if you go back to 2020, 2021, rates were low.
Yes.
The market was going crazy. A lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
But through it all, it was a couple great years.
Yes.
And then 22 came, and 23 came, and 24 came. How do you sum up the last 4.5, 5 years? And then what do you think the next few years looks like? Are you optimistic or not?
Everybody wants the crystal ball, right? What's going to happen?
Trust me, I want to.
So I'll just speak for Southwest Washington. It's a supply and demand thing. So, with rates doing what it's doing, it's pushing on the investors. So because money is getting more expensive, so deal flow is going to slow down, meaning like there's just going to be less of everything going on in the market. So we're going from rabbit, speed to turtle speed. The turtle doesn't stop; he could still win the race, but it just slows down.
I like that analogy, man.
And I keep telling everybody, even the brokers, they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "No, it's okay. It's not going. We're still going to move through it, just like when we did through COVID, right?"
Yes.
But you can't just like rely that, it's over. It's not. Like, there's always a deal to be made nationally. If you put up all the stats, the transaction volumes are about always the same. So like the activity in the market is still there, but you just got to understand that, secondary markets are going to slow down. Primary markets are still going to do good. So every market, Salem, Southwest, you have a primary market, you have secondary market. Yeah. You got to understand secondary markets are usually the overflow of the primary market. So in a slower season, secondary markets just do a lot slower. So you got to understand these structures of markets of what takes place, but it's not like hands off, we're done. Like, it doesn't happen that way. Then I tell people, we're almost in a normal market where spring and summer, you make all your money. Winters, things slow down. And it's okay. And we saw that even in the last 2 years, rates go up during the winter, things kind of slow down, and so forth. So what do I see, like, say, a couple years? I think, the Feds raised the rates to they kind of hit a ceiling, and they feel where the market stalls, and then they kind of release it, and then there's more activity in the market. And I see that happening kind of every 2-3 months. I think we're just going to be kind of where we're at. I think there's not going to be a lot of equity growth in the market because they don't want to stimulate the market too much. Could that push us into a recession? That could, or it could just push us into a stagflation where we're kind of in this limbo for so many years until, they feel like they can push the market up again. But my thought process is like, I think we've been kind of in stagflation for a couple of years now, and I think a couple more, and then it just depends what happens.
Yeah. During 2008, I could go back there like it's yesterday, even though it's been years, 16 years ago already. Sometimes I talk about it like it's yesterday, but the thing, even though it was painful going through that time, the one thing I did take out of it, it came later because during the storm, you don't always see all the positive. You learn, hindsight's always 20/20, right? But I think the thing I learned from that was whether good market or bad market, there's still a market.
Yes.
And realize the season that you're in, it's just a season. It's not forever. Like, hey, winter's coming. Things slow down. Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
And so people change, but then spring comes. It's the hottest time when people come out of the woodwork and let's go buy a home. Like goals. And so I think sometimes we forget there are seasons. This is not forever. Don't get caught up. Just look far enough out.
Yes.
Look at the horizon. It's kind of like if you're deep sea fishing. I don't know if you don't keep your eye on the horizon, you're probably going to get sick.
Yes.
Right. So maybe this is the analogy. Is keep your eyes on the horizon and don't focus on what's going to happen this week or this month. stay the course, do the work, the prep work. Imagine that, and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
What would you say heading into this next year, though? We're in 2025.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your greatest challenge? I don't care, personally, professionally, but let's start professionally. And if you want to chat about personally, that's fine as well. What's your greatest challenge? What do you deal with? What's David's challenge?
For us, I think it's hitting the higher level of influence for what we're trying to achieve in Powered by Ground. I think that's probably it, because I believe what we're talking about in looking at markets and brokers assessing that, and then understanding how they need to position their businesses around the market where it's at. And we talked a little bit before the podcast that, the brokers, before COVID and then after COVID, I mean, in Keller book, it calls the shift. So there's been shifts. So in the last 6 years, we had 2 or 3 shifts. But the issue is with new home sales, the market share has gone up. Before COVID, it was like 16%, even for us in Clark County. Now it's almost at 30%. So
of all the make sure I'm clear.
Yes,
of all the home sales,
all the transaction
it went from
sales,
16% to 30% on new home sales.
Yes,
fantastic.
Yeah. So, but that means where that's where the business is at for brokers, and and that's where I'm saying they have to slowly start pivoting their business to that direction, because allow the market to complement your business. So if the market's percentage wise in new homes goes up, your business percentage wise should go up into that. And that's why we came to our Keller office 3 years ago. I was looking to launch this division concept, because the title companies have new home divisions, mortgage companies have it, the broker world never had it. I know. And I was like, that's crazy. Like the sales force, I know, that's supposed to cultivate the transaction doesn't have a division. And I was like, this has to change like across the board, and it's amazing to see that, some companies are starting to copy paste us, which is great. I always say that's a compliment.
That's a compliment.
Yes. But like when we took the Rouser for 2024 and we looked at all the top producing brokerage firms, like even DR, Lennar, all of those broker firms. Yeah, 30%. They own 30% of the top 50 companies just in Southwest Washington. In closing transactions. That's how much new homes are getting pushed into our communities. Yeah. And brokers just are not aware enough. Let's put it this way. So the biggest challenge is to create more and more awareness. And it's like using platforms like this and many others, is just to create more and more awareness that brokers have to go into this space. Like they have to, it's not an option anymore. It's like the short sales. I always say, when OA came over, brokers never liked short sales, but you couldn't do around it.
Welcome. You have to figure out a short sale.
Exactly. So the same thing with new homes. Like brokers just have to figure it out. Like it's not an option anymore. The market share is too high to ignore it.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you know the statistics on this, but the word on the street from people I follow, the average mortgage person is around 53 to 55.
Wow.
The average real estate broker is probably even a little older, 55 to 57. So you're 38, you're bringing a new concept. See, we don't like to change, right? I've been doing this for 40 years. I know all things. And we know that's not true.
Correct.
If we don't change, we will die. And so I'm on the cutting edge with you. Like I'm older than you, so I wasn't born with a cell phone.
Correct.
And maybe you were, maybe you weren't, but you're a millennial.
Yes.
And so you get this technology more. Your age group is probably more able to change, shift. Shift is a great word. But for me, if I love what I do, I really do. I don't love all aspects of lending, but for the most part, I love real estate and I love people.
Yes.
So those two.
Yes.
But about 4 years ago, I realized the model that I grew up with from 1998 when I got in the business, it had to change. I couldn't coach people on, hey, back in the day, and I'm not joking, we had the Yellow Page ad. In the Yellow Page, you know what that is, a telephone book ad? Yeah.
They rip it out.
Our success was based on how big our ad was. And so you can't coach people that's 25 to 35, like the Nick Ketchums of the world, to, hey, get yourself a Yellow Page ad. You have to shift and change. And so I work hard, and that's what I gather from you, is that you like to keep learning, you keep growing, training, and if you don't change, though, you will die. So,
in entrepreneurship, you shift, right? And even all my builder mentors also and developers, they shift also with the market. Like, and he goes, and like I talked a lot with our builder developer groups. For example, in 2008, national builders didn't own so much market share. Now between Salem and Bellingham, it's 60% owned by Wall Street, national builders.
60%.
Yeah, so you go, well, that was the shift from 2008 till today. Yeah, like, so what do all the developers used to sell to local builders. Now half of their projects go to locals, half go to nationals.
Okay.
So like they had to shift. Everybody had to shift. There's no way you can get around. So like a lot of my developer buddies, like they sell lots to nationals and they don't like it, but that's the market, right? Go where the market's at, period.
Go where the market's at. That's really good. Hey, let me ask you this question. As a builder, you know, how do you compete with the Lennars and D.R. Hortons? And because, not going to say anything bad necessarily, but I think quality-wise, I think they're doing numbers. That's fine.
Correct.
They're doing thousands of homes a year.
Thousands.
And you're doing, you know,
a handful.
Tens of hundreds. And quality difference, what would you say about what's different about you and the way you guys build?
So what I say is like building homes is an art. And the difference between a national and local builder, is one of my trainings, is every local builder has a reflection of the CEO. A national builder doesn't. It's just corporate. So that's why you get sheetrock in a box. That's it, right?
Sheetrock in a box.
Yes. But your local builder, every CEO or every owner of that company, they reflect the style of the homes or the communities that they want to, because it's an art. Building a home or building a community becomes an art on a national level. And because this is what happens, like there's 20 lots in a community and national buys, 18, and the two that are the misconfigured lots, they don't want them. It doesn't fit their formula. So a local guy would come in and build something really unique in a misconfigured lot, but they just want their program. So if it's a 40 by 100, that's all they want, just setbacks, they pour their foundation, put up the walls, and it's done deal. So that's the difference that, a local guy can look at a lot and go past all the bound borders and figure out how to make it still nice because it's an art. Where a national, they just, if it fits their program, great. If it doesn't, just, it goes to the local guys. That's it. So that's how we differ. And every market's still going to have local builders. They're not going to go away.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So because the market's still, you can't, like Starbucks can't serve all the coffees in the world.
And nor can McDonald's.
Or they own the market share and they got to move on. So that's kind of what builders are. Yeah. Same story.
Would you say the bigger builders, like a McDonald's, is more about quantity versus quality?
Yeah, they're definitely numbers.
Okay.
It's all about numbers. Yeah.
Okay. If somebody wants to build a home with you, what's that process look like? How long does it take to build a home these days?
So in our Southwest Washington, I think it's kind of I'd say anything for a 12-month process, I think, from start to finish. Yeah. You always want to look at 12 months. You lose about, a month due to weather conditions, snow, rain, whatever.
Right. Getting
permits. And then I always say everything starts with the lot. The lot dictates the house build. So any customer that brings us their own lot, then we kind of work with that lot on what we can do. If they're in a search for one of our lots, then it's like we have kind of a pre-designed what we can really fit on that lot. So each lot dictates what you could truly do. So the lot, and then after that, you go into house planning. You figure out house plannings, but that really goes also with budgeting because houses are built per square foot. So that's the metrics. What's the cost per square foot? So if it's, say, let's just take a round number, $100 a square foot, you could afford a $100,000 house, 100,000 divided by 100 equals that many square feet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you work the formula on the square footage. Yeah. It really has to do going back to finance, how much can you afford? And then it's square footage and then packages, like what do you really want to upgrade? And I tell people whatever you pay for, you'll get, right? If you want the latest and the brightest and the most expensive thing, you'll pay for it, you'll get it. But and that's where they meet with our designers, our finishers, all of that, to figure out, what's the ultimate package that they want on cabinets, flooring, painting, all of that. And then that kind of just sums up the whole process. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than I could say in 60 seconds, but that's kind of the formula that, we go by. And then we do pre-sales or we do specs, where we work on pre-sales with the customer, or on specs where we just deliver the product, person buys what we put together.
What's your numbers of specs versus pre-sales?
Right now it's probably 80-20.
80-20, yes. 80% spec?
80 specs.
Okay, nice.
The reason is because a lot of clients, with the rates, what they did, a lot of people are they want to make a decision now. They don't want to speculate what's going to happen in 12 months. If rates go to 7, we can't afford it. So they can
buy an existing home today, know what the situation is.
Yes, and they're like, okay, we got our rate at 6 and 8, we're happy, or 6 and 5, and they're like, we're done, like we don't have to think about this. So it seems like, and most of the local builders and even the nationals in our market in the last, I would say 24 months, have delivered specs to the market, knowing that that's really kind of the mindset of the buyers.
It's interesting from the finance side. When I built a few homes myself personally.
There you go.
And been part of people, getting construction loans and stuff. It's funny to me though, people, they want to build a $500,000 or $600,000 home and then do the base model stuff throughout the house. I'm like, and so because they're going to save 10 grand or 20 grand. And what I help coach people, I say, here's the deal. You're going to get halfway through and realize you don't want that. And then you're going to do a change order, which is going to be way more expensive for you to do. It's better if you just choose today, spend an extra 20 grand and get exactly what you want. Otherwise, you're going to build a $500,000 or $600,000, $700,000 home, and you're going to be disappointed you didn't go all in. Don't do that. I mean, that's the way I coach people. You certainly can.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't do that, not for 1 minute.
And people who do self-builds, and this is one of the things I tell, like, you guys have time to shop. Like, most builders don't have time to shop, right? So they'll go to 2 flooring companies and they'll call a shot and install it. I mean, homeowners, you can go shop 20 stores and you could probably save 15% by doing that. I don't have time to exchange for the 15%. So that's why I tell the homeowners, go shop it and find the best product for the best price. And you will, because you're shopping it. I don't have time to shop it or do it on behalf of the client. I'll give you 2 preferred flooring companies, 2 preferred cabinet companies, and call it a day.
You're on your own.
Yeah, so that's really, I think, that's what homeowners, especially custom builds, they have as an advantage for sure.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah.
And what's a goal you have for your family this year? 2025, how do you cast vision for your family? How do you bring joy to your family? How do you keep your family together? I mean, you guys travel. Give us...
So I'll give you another 30-30-30 rule.
30-30-30.
Yes, 30% of your life you spend with people who will challenge you. 30% of your life you spend with people who you love to interact and have fun. And then 30% of people you operate or give your time and energy towards people you serve. So that's kind of how we set our schedule. So we set vacations with our family, camps, stuff we do. Then 30% is just kind of like, and then higher activities, like kids go to school, they do their music, they do their sports, they do everything, things where they're being challenged. That's kind of, we push them. And then 30%, we just try to have a healthy, balanced life, go on vacation, do just stuff that just brings health and wealth and restoration to the family. And then you serve, right? Like, you teach your kids to give, you go do activities, you do nonprofits. We do a lot of church activities. So you just give. Because if it's, again, life is, I think this is where in Christian realm, it says, be led by the Spirit. And I think this is the uniqueness and advantage we have, is by being led, you're usually led in balance. That's kind of how I see it. Whenever you're in balance, where we say you lose peace, and it's always because we've kind of hit a ditch, right? We're really on the wrong path. So I think that's kind of the 2025 lifestyle we're trying to adopt for the family.
Well, we want to be in control. We want to be balanced. But what you're saying if you're leading the Spirit-led life, it's going to be a life of imbalance. Like God's pulling you here and serving people over there. And I think we're actually called to that. We all want the couch lifestyle, the comfort. That's death.
Yes.
That's death. So, well, brother, we're going to wrap up
for sure
right now.
Thank you.
How do people reach out to you and connect with you? Because I think you have a lot to offer people. And I think your heart's right. I don't think there's an ulterior motive. So how do people connect with you?
So we'll have a connection. We have plenty of sites. My phone number's up there. My email's out there.
Yeah.
So people can reach out via text, email. On social media, we're kind of on all platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Powered by Grounds there. A couple of our channels are there also. People will probably Google me. They'll find me.
Okay, and I'm going to put in the show notes too. So we'll make sure to connect. But thank you very much for listening this week. We appreciate David being here. David, good job, man.
Yeah, no, it was a phenomenal time.
Yeah.
Appreciate this. Thank you.
We'll see you next week. So God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.